Hello students, welcome to the SRBPS virtual classroom program. I'm your biology educator, Ms. Prerna Rathi. So let us start today's class. So students, let us start today's class. Today we will be dealing with the last part of natural resources, that is the biogeochemical cycles. In the biogeochemical cycles, we shall discuss the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, oxygen cycle and carbon cycle. Let us first read what are biogeochemical cycles. Biogeochemical cycles show the transfer of matter and energy between the various biotic as well as the abiotic components of the biosphere. The common biogeochemical cycles are water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle and the oxygen cycle. Let us start with the water cycle. What is water cycle? Water cycle is basically the cycling of water through different components of the biosphere. Water exists in solid, liquid and gaseous, all three forms. Solid in the form of ice caps, gaseous in the form of water vapor in the atmosphere and liquid obviously in the form of water. Now, as we have already learned in the smaller classes, water cycle is a very simple cycle which consists of three processes: evaporation, condensation and precipitation. The water available on the surface of various water bodies and the one that is transpired by the plants evaporates and reaches the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. These water vapors slowly and steadily condense to form tiny water droplets. These tiny water droplets come together to form huge clouds. When the clouds become really heavy, they come down in the form of precipitation, which is rain, hail, snow, etc., depending upon the temperature of that particular area. So once again, let us revise. When water bodies are heated during the day, a large amount of water evaporates and rises up. Some water also gets into the atmosphere due to biological activities like transpiration and respiration. And as it rises and cools down, condenses to form clouds. These clouds come down in the form of rainfall. Let us now discuss the nitrogen cycle. We all know that 78% of the atmosphere consists of nitrogen gas. The nitrogen in the atmosphere is fixed into various nitrogen compounds in the soil by certain nitrogen fixing bacteria which are present in the root nodules of leguminous plants and also by the atmospheric fixation by lightning. These nitrogen compounds can be easily taken up by the plants to form amino acids, which in turn lead to the formation of proteins. Now, when the animals or the consumers, us, when we consume the plants, we get protein and in turn we get nitrogen. When plants and animals both die, the bacteria reconverts the proteins and nitrogenous compounds like nitrites, nitrates, which is simpler form of nitrogen compounds. Other bacteria convert these nitrogenous compounds into free nitrogen in the atmosphere. So ultimately, जहाँ से लिया वहाँ पहुँचा दिया, एटमॉस्फेयर से कंज्यूम करना स्टार्ट किया था और एटमॉस्फेयर में वापस पहुँचा दिया. Hence, recycling is done. Nitrogen is very essential for making proteins, for making our DNA, RNA, certain vitamins also. Let us see the nitrogen cycle. The first process in the nitrogen cycle is nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation can be done by atmospheric fixation, biological fixation or industrial fixation. Atmospheric fixation is done by the help of lightning. Biological fixation is done by various bacteria and microorganisms present in the soil. And industrial nitrogen fixation is done by the formation of nitrogenous fertilizers in factories. After nitrogen fixation, the nitrogen reaches the protoplasm of the plants which are consumed by the animals. Both dead plants and animals produce ammonia by a process called ammonification.
Now, certain nitrogen is directly and ammonia is also converted into nitrites and nitrates by the process of nitrification. Conversion of ammonia into nitrites and then nitrates is known as nitrification. And the last process, the eventual conversion of nitrates and nitrogenous compounds into free nitrogen, that is N2 in air, is known as denitrification. Let us now discuss the carbon cycle, which is a very simple cycle. We know that carbon occurs in the form of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide is consumed by the plants for the process of photosynthesis. This glucose, which is the end product of photosynthesis, is used to provide energy to the animals, and when the animals respire, they break down the glucose into carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide and hence released back into the atmosphere by the process of respiration. Another process which adds carbon dioxide into the atmosphere is combustion of fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, diesel, etc. The organic compounds in plants and animals are also converted into various carbonates, limestone, coal, petroleum, exoskeletons of some animals. Carbon is essential component of biological molecules in our life like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and nucleic acids. Let us now see the carbon cycle. As you can see, the carbon dioxide in the air is used by the plants for the process of photosynthesis. Some amount of carbon dioxide that is dissolved in water in the form of carbonates leads to the formation of limestone. The organic compounds like glucose, which are formed in plants, are eaten up by the animals, which on both respiration and in decomposition return the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Apart from that, dead and decayed animals and plants lead to the formation of coal and petroleum, which on combustion again lead to the formation of carbon dioxide. Some of the carbon dioxide becomes unavailable due to the formation of inorganic carbonate shells of various animals. Last we have the oxygen cycle, another very simple cycle because it consists of only two processes. Oxygen in the atmosphere is used for the process of respiration. We take in oxygen to break down glucose in our body. Oxygen is sent back into the atmosphere by the process of photosynthesis, where oxygen is a byproduct. Oxygen is an essential component of biological molecules like carbohydrates, fats, proteins. Now let us see the cycle. The atmospheric oxygen is used for respiration by all the animals as well as plants. Now after respiration, carbon dioxide is formed. The water and carbon dioxide by the process of photosynthesis convert into glucose, and oxygen is given out in the form of a byproduct. So the two processes involved here are, kindly see very carefully, respiration and photosynthesis. Another two topics that we had discussed earlier also and we will discuss now related to oxygen, the greenhouse effect and the ozone layer. What is greenhouse effect? Greenhouse effect is basically the heating up of the atmosphere due to trapping of sunlight by various greenhouse gases. Let us see what are the greenhouse gases present on the earth. Carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons. All these gases trap the sunlight and lead to the heating up of the Earth's atmosphere. Slowly, this greenhouse effect due to pollution is increasing, and the increasing greenhouse effect has led to cause global warming, which causes melting of polar ice, increase in the sea level, flooding of the coastal areas, submerging of the islands, and disturbed precipitation patterns all over the world. The next topic that we need to discuss in this chapter is ozone layer. What do you mean by ozone? Ozone is the triatomic molecule of oxygen. It is present in the upper layer of the atmosphere, where it forms a complete ozonosphere which prevents the entry of harmful UV rays into the earth. Ozone is otherwise a poisonous gas. If we inhale ozone, it will cause asphyxia or dam ghutna, and we might die because of no supply of oxygen to the brain. It protects the earth from the harmful UV radiation. The ozone layer is continuously being damaged by certain chemicals called the chlorofluorocarbons or the CFCs. To prevent the damage of the ozone layer, the world has signed a pact to reduce the use of chlorofluorocarbons. So let us recapitulate what we have learnt in today's class. We learnt about various biogeochemical cycles, namely the water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle, and we eventually learnt about ozone depletion and the greenhouse effect.
I hope you understood today's lecture and are making full use of our YouTube channel. So until next time, goodbye, take care.